So number 2, we have the Sheik right here from the house that the Sheik built, the Kobo in Detroit. What can you tell us about the Sheik there, Bobby?
Man, the Sheik was probably the first professional wrestler's name I ever learned. Bobo Bazil was probably the second, because that's who he was feuding with at the time. I've given a story back in like 1960 fucking 8 or 69, watching it with my aunt in Baltimore when it was WWWF. I told a story about the first time I ever got to see him in live and with my real father, and then years later got to see him in Huntington Civic Center. The Sheik, man, to me, the Sheik was the real fucking deal. I can remember staying up years and years later with Chris Candido in a hotel up in Detroit, Michigan. We did a big show for Sabu, put it together, and he was just talking about with me, him and Taz and Sabu went to dinner after the show, and then Candido and I went to our room, and we stayed up forever talking about how over the fucking Sheik was in Japan, walking down the street with the fucking knife in his mouth, the big sword or whatever, and doing his walk. And the Sheik, man, he was probably, to me, the scariest motherfucker ever in professional wrestling. The Sheik was, he had that pencil, he bled, he had his own territory, he was a champion, North American champion, world champion, whatever. The Sheik was the Sheik. The only thing, and I'm gonna let you take over, because I just want to tell you this one funny story, and I'll get off here about the Sheik. The Sheik to me was great because he was the first name I ever learned or knew about in professional wrestling. And I just knew he was one bad, scary motherfucker. So here's the thing. The Sheik was the man, the living legend. He was the guy that fucking penciled you, fucking stabbed you, ripped your fucking eyeballs out, beat you at the fucking bell, scared the living shit out of me, my brother, my dad, and whoever the fuck else was watching. Stay away from that man. Anyway, the Sheik was on TV, and a friend of mine was running the cameras. Another friend of mine said, "Hey, you need a ride?" He took me and my brother and I. So he took my brother and I up to the tapings in Huntington, West Virginia, at the Civic Center, which they blocked off half, but they used to have the biggest stars. It's where I met, for the first time I ever saw and shook hands with Andre the Giant, Dick the Bruiser, whoever he brought in. The Sheik had that territory, and they came here because they had TV. And the Sheik was the man. We didn't know it at the time. Whatever. But anyway, we had all access. We went in the back. Funny Sheik story. They had in the Huntington Civic Center, where I wrestled Piper at back in the day. But before that, we would go back there. We watch all the matches. And the guy's name was Dave. He says, "Hey, you guys got those passes? Come on back in the back." So me and my brother and the guy that drove us up went in the back. They had a basketball goal on the back of a forklift, and you could raise it up to 7, 8, 9, 10 foot, 10 foot's regulation or whatever. And we went in the back of the Huntington Civic Center, and my brother and I and the guy that drove us up there, his name was Dale, were shooting baskets. And after the show, and the Sheik walked through, and we were scared fucking shitless. Scared fucking shitless. He just beat someone like Bobo Bazil or Andre or Dick the Bruiser, double DQ or whatever. He stabbed him with a fucking pencil. We saw it. We're just back there hanging out waiting for to get the fuck out of the building. So my story is this, and I'm sticking to it. Ed Farhat, who we knew his name was Ed. Could not pronounce his last name. I probably still fuck it up. He walked through, scared the living shit out of us. Always stood there holding a basketball, and who had the ball. We all stood there stopped in our fucking tracks, scared shitless. The man who could speak 6 languages. The man who could fucking have that sword in his mouth. The man who beat every motherfucker on the planet. The first heel that ever I was scared the living shit out of. He looked at all of us and walked by, smiled, and kept on going right back to the shower area. And we just looked there like each other, like, man. And I knew it then, and I know it now. That was a fucking moment in my life. A fucking heel wrestler looked at us, kind of smiled, because we had one of the cameramen, like I said, from the local TV that gave us the access. And that's one of my great, I put it up here for my Terry Funk story of meeting him down in Knoxville and talking for an hour with him. The Sheik stopped, looked at us shooting basketball after the show out behind the Huntington Civic Center, and he looked at us like, all right, guys, you know. He kind of got us like, you guys must love basketball and wrestling or whatever. But he also looked at us like, I'll chew your fucking heads off. You'll never fucking ever reproduce in this world. You'll never live another day if you say anything about this. You know.
Woo, message, this is professional wrestler Jimmy Van, the Boogie Woogie Man. Tell my people, my brothers and sisters, you listen to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I don't have to introduce this sweetheart, do I? Oh, yeah.